Right now, new members of the Sun Prairie community hold a vote on the current superintendent, what they decided on. Plus, the government shutdown slows air traffic nationwide. A look at the growing impacts nearly 1 week in. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Breiter. Right now, Sun Prairie police are investigating an overnight shooting that left one person injured. Officers were called to the area of Sunfield Street and Sun Court just before 1 this morning for reports of shots fired. At the scene, police recovered evidence suggesting that a shooting occurred between two vehicles before they left the scene. One person went to a hospital with a gunshot wound. They were treated and later released. Police are asking those who live in the area to check surveillance for possible footage of the vehicles leaving at the time of the shooting. If you have any information, call the Sun Prairie Police Department at 608-837-7336. Continuing coverage now of the fallout at the Sun Prairie School District. Overnight, community members voted no confidence in Superintendent Brad Sarin. The 68-45 vote is the first step toward placing Sarin on a performance improvement plan, which could lead to further disciplinary action. Next steps for the district will take shape in the next school year. The vote happened late last night during the district's annual meeting, where community members can vote on key issues.
Trust you 100%. We don't trust the schools. What I need to say is, how do we fix this? I don't know the answer to that, but I think more information is probably going to be better than less.
The board also reviewed district finances, voting to keep the levy limit the same until a formal performance review is completed. Since the start of former Dean of Students Robert Gilkey-Messegeyer's criminal investigation, 2 staff members have been put on leave. Gilkey-Messegeyer faces 15 counts of child sex crimes and has pleaded not guilty. He is scheduled to return to court later this month. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul says he will not be running for governor next year. He instead will be seeking a 3rd term as the state's top law enforcement official. The race will be the highest profile contest on the November ballot, but it has even greater significance this cycle as Democrats look to hold the office and take control of the legislature for the first time since 2010. More than a half a dozen Democrats have announced plans to run in the August primary, while 2 Republicans are currently in the running. Happening today, Madison City Council President Regina Vivider is introducing a new ordinance to set a 21 and up age requirement for hemp-derived products. Currently, anyone 18 and older can purchase THC products. The move comes after a rise in emergency room visits involving THC. Vidiver says it is just the beginning of regulations the city is considering.
We're starting with age-restricted sales. Our goal, assuming that we can pass that, is that we would then move to licensing and zoning.
Under the proposed zoning rules, hemp businesses could not be located within a quarter mile of schools or youth organizations like the YMCA. The ordinance will first go to 2 committees before returning to the Common Council on November 25th. 1 week into the government shutdown, travelers are feeling the impact. Low staffing at a dozen air traffic control facilities is causing major delays. And in Washington, lawmakers still can't agree on whether talks to end the shutdown are even happening. Here's Natalie Brand.
The shutdown is snarling air travel nationwide, with staffing issues reported in several airports coast to coast Monday night.
The controllers yesterday were saying, we actually have to think about working 6 days a week, and then do I go out and take an Uber job and try to make extra money to put the food on the table?
The most glaring example, no staff inside the air traffic control tower at the Hollywood Burbank Airport.
Clearance is closed, ground's closed, local's closed, the tower is closed due to staffing. So you just contact SoCal on the 800 number in the green book for your clearance. Transportation
Secretary Sean Duffy says the department is slowing air travel in areas hit by staffing shortages to ensure the airspace is safe.
The real-world impacts could pressure the White House and lawmakers to find a way out of the shutdown. President Trump has said he's happy to work with Democrats on health care, but wants them to reopen the government first.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said last night the president has not talked to Democrats.
It should be clear to Republicans that we cannot go forward unless they sit down and seriously negotiate with Democrats to address the health care crisis. It's that simple.
Senators are expected to hold additional votes on the same spending bills to reopen the government that have now failed to pass 5 times. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
There's also new confusion over back pay for furloughed workers. The White House Budget Office says they may not be guaranteed pay for the time off during the shutdown. That contradicts a 2019 law signed by President Trump, which promised back pay for federal workers after past shutdowns. Now, first check of your first warn forecast this Tuesday afternoon. Here's meteorologist Jacob Montesano. Hi, Jacob.
Hey, Josh, we're seeing very similar conditions to this time yesterday. A lot of the area in the 60s, 63 in Madison. It certainly is continuing to feel fall-like. Now, the difference today compared to yesterday is we are seeing plenty of sunshine. Let's take a look outside. This is a live view from Platteville showing very clear skies, some clouds on the horizon, but a lot of the area is seeing the clear skies, and we're certainly going to be dry for the rest of the day with those high temperatures rising a few more degrees compared to where they are right now. Likely going to see highs in the middle 60s with continuous sunshine throughout the afternoon. Now, we'll continue to see the clear skies overnight, but the lows tonight definitely going to be on the chillier side. A lot of the region expected to drop potentially into the 30s, with some areas near freezing further north. And there is a frost advisory for counties north of Madison and a freeze warning for areas north of our region entirely. That dark blue you see towards the top, that's the freeze warning. The light blue is a frost advisory. And even those not in the frost advisory could definitely see some frost, especially once we get towards Wednesday morning, and we're likely going to see another night Wednesday into Thursday with similar conditions. So some pretty chilly overnight lows. I'll talk about that, but I'll also talk about a little bit of a warm up a little bit later in the week. The details on that will come up a bit later.
All right, Jacob, we'll see you in Maine weather. Thank you. The Brewers are just one game away from advancing in the playoffs. Overnight, they took down the Cubs in Game 2 of the series. Here's how it happened. Top of the first, 2 runners on for Seiya Suzuki, who hits one deep and into the stands, making it 3-0 Cubs early. But the Brew Crew is going to respond in the bottom of the first when Andrew Vaughn crushes it for a 3-run homer to tie things up at 3. Bottom of the fourth we go. Jackson Churio sends one deep to center. That scores 3 more, so 7-3 Milwaukee, and that's how it ends. Brewers take a 2-0 lead in the series, which now heads to Chicago for Game 3. That is tomorrow afternoon at 4:08. The Packers will be back on WISC-TV when they face off against Cincinnati Sunday afternoon. Kickoff is set for 3:25. It also marks the start of CBS Premiere Week and our First Warn Weather special, Winter Ready. After the game on News 3 Now, we'll have a special report on Madison's new vape ban. Coming up next on News 3 Now at noon, how Krispy Kreme is unveiling some new scary good treats for the Halloween season, plus what new deals Amazon Prime members can expect for the holiday shopping season.
The holiday shopping season kicks off today for Amazon Prime members. The e-commerce giant is offering early discounts on lots of merchandise like home decor, fashion, and toys. Amazon Prime Big Deal Days last from October 7th through 8th. And Krispy Kreme has released 4 scary good new treats along with a Halloween-themed box for spooky season. The donut chain is also offering customers 2 chances to score free donuts for Halloween. Anyone who wears a costume to participating locations on October 25th and 31st can get a free original glazed or classic ring donut. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to cbsmoneywatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Jesse Mitchell.
Here's a look at the current stock numbers at the noon hour. The Dow's down 116 points, NASDAQ down 124, and the S&P 500 down this hour 29. Our call for action volunteers are in the building taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. Call for action at 608-270-2833 or submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call-for-action. Pam has today's farm numbers up next, and Jacob is tracking the First Warn forecast. Then later on Live at 4, we're talking about male breast cancer during this Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Welcome back. Let's check in now with Pam Yankee for the Midwest Farm Report. Hi, Pam.
Hi, Josh. Today we want to focus in on a conversation I had yesterday with Wisconsin Senator Pat Testin. He's from the Stevens Point area. He is also the chair of the Senate Agriculture and Tourism Committee, and he is not happy with some proposed fee hikes that the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection is focused on livestock marketing in Wisconsin. Teston called it a bonehead maneuver and hopes that the department will turn things around. This is something we've been talking about for a while. The only resort that producers have now is making their voices heard at the Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection. Teston tells me that a Supreme Court ruling has basically tied their hands at the State House. Legislators do not have the power or authority now to stop this kind of agency directive. So he said it's really on the livestock producers, anybody connected with the livestock industry, to let their voices be heard. Some of these fee increases being proposed are as much as 1,700% higher than they were last year. There's no sector of agriculture that can manage that. So again, Teston is encouraging all farmers, anybody connected with livestock marketing, farmers obviously themselves, to take some time and send an email, or if you want to do snail mail, get started on it right away, because your comments must be in the hands of DATCAP officials by October 15th. Then Teston said you are going to have to rely on the common sense, the reaction to the comments by Wisconsin Ag Secretary Randy Romanski to see if we're going to go forward on these proposed fee increases. Again, October 15th, the deadline. Teston calling it a bonehead maneuver. We are kind of keeping an eye on what's happening in Washington, D.C. The word was today we were going to find out more about federal aid that could be sent out to the nation's soybean growers. 10 to 15 billion, what's been discussed. No details have been announced as of yet. Today was kind of the first edge of when we might find those details out. Of course, then with the government shutdown, the question is how would they administer it anyhow? I'll do my best to keep you posted, as always. In the dairy markets, barrel cheese is unchanged. 40-pound block cheese down a penny and a half at 173.5. 40-pound block cheese on a Tuesday drops another 2 3/4 cents, 166 3/4. So I think it's a good thing, Josh, that our Wisconsin farmers are busy out in the fields harvesting to take their mind off the shutdown and the slowdown in Washington, D.C. But I do hope they stay engaged in that issue regarding those proposed fee increases. They're big ones.
Yeah, it's a busy time of year. I know in my neck of the woods, everywhere you look, there's a tractor, there's a combine. They are busy, Pam.
Yes, they are. And the weather's helping them.
That is for sure. All right, Pam, thank you. Let's get to that certified most accurate forecast now with First Warn meteorologist Jacob Montesano. One positive with all the dryness we've had is those farmers really haven't had any issues out there.
Yeah, and we're going to continue to be pretty dry as well. Not a lot of rain in the forecast, but what we are going to see are some pretty chilly temperatures, especially overnight, where lows are expected to drop into the 30s the next 2 nights, with sunny skies continuing for most of the week. Now, we are going to see the 70s return for the weekend, but until then, we're going to be staying in the 60s for those highs. Now, as we take a look at the temperature forecast, this afternoon, highs will rise a little bit further into the middle 60s, but I want to focus on the overnight lows once again. We're expecting a lot of the area to drop into the 30s, and areas to the north could drop to near freezing. And those areas that aren't dropping to near freezing could still see some of that frost. Now, the frost advisory is for north of Madison, but Madison and surrounding areas could definitely see some frost tonight. And we're going to have a similar situation tomorrow night as well. Now, the afternoon highs for tomorrow aren't expected to be as warm as today, only cooler by about a few degrees, but we're talking about highs only in the lower 60s. And then looking at the overnight forecast for Wednesday into Thursday, a similar forecast with lows expected to drop into the 30s. Maybe not quite as cool for areas to the north, but still expected to see some frost develop. Now, as we take a look at the highs going forward, Wednesday night will be the last night that we're dropping into the 30s, at least for now, but those highs are expected to stay in the 60s through the end of the work week. But then 70s are in the forecast for the weekend. They will cool back down a little bit, maybe back in the upper 60s by the middle of next week, but the weekend right now looking very comfortable. During all this, not expecting much rainfall. We have a small chance of rain Thursday into Friday, a little bit of a better chance of rain once we get to Monday, but from now through the weekend, expect very little, if not no rain at all. Now, as we take a look at the fall color report, this is the first time that counties, at least in northern Wisconsin, are at peak levels. Still not really seeing a lot of change in southern Wisconsin, but with these cool temperatures, especially the overnight temperatures, I do expect to see quite a bit of color change over the next couple of weeks, and this week in general, we'll likely see a lot of color change. Now, fast forwarding towards the weekend, let's take a look at the Badger football game forecast. We'll be a little bit chilly. During the afternoon, temperatures will get into the lower 70s, but because the game's starting at 6 p.m., we're talking about the start of the game, temperatures likely in the 60s, cooling down into the 50s by the time we get to the end of the game. So in general, pretty good football weather, not expecting any rainfall, but definitely bring a light jacket. Now, if you plan on heading a little bit further north for the Packers game, this game start time is in the middle of the afternoon, so we are going to see temperatures a little bit warmer, but once again, getting a little bit chilly towards the end of the game. And in general, Sunday is expected to be warmer than Saturday, and Green Bay will have a very similar forecast to us here in Madison. So in general, two very good games weather-wise. I mean, the weekend as a whole looking just about perfect. The afternoons for the next couple of days are going to be pretty nice, but we are going to see some chilly nights and chilly mornings, as we could see lows dropping into the 30s. But again, once we get towards Thursday night, we'll see a little bit more cloud cover, which will help keep those temperatures a little bit warmer. Typically, when you get those clear skies that we're going to get tonight and tomorrow night on top of calm winds, that really allows those temperatures to fall. But we're not going to see those conditions for the end of the week or the weekends. But I mean, a really, really nice forecast. I know many people probably are upset to see the 80s go, but I mean, 60s and 70s for highs for the next 10 days is going to be very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty picture perfect. All right, Jacob, thank you. Now let's see what Howard's up to in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
One of our favorite things to do here in the Test Kitchen is to answer your questions from Facebook. So today, our website editor, Merle, is here to share one of your questions with us.
Hi, Howard. One question we got from a viewer was, what's the difference between a casserole and what's known as a hot dish?
Thanks, Merle. Great question. You see, casseroles are named after the dish they're cooked in or served in, rather than what the dish consists of. Now, on the other hand, hot dishes always include some kind of canned soup, meat, and a starch, typically potatoes, and like the name says, it's served hot. So all hot dishes are casseroles, yet not all casseroles are hot dishes. Let me show you one of my favorites. Here we brown some ground beef along with a chopped onion, and that goes into a baking dish. On top of that goes some frozen mixed vegetables, which are a whole lot easier than starting with fresh ones. Then we're gonna spoon on a mixture that we made by combining some cream of mushroom soup and milk. Sprinkle on some cheddar cheese before finishing the whole thing off with a layer of frozen potato nuggets. We'll bake this until it's bubbly hot and the potatoes are crispy. Talk about a hearty all-in-one dish that's super easy and filling. I know you're gonna wanna go online and get a recipe for what's best known as Minnesota hot dish, so you can show off the difference between this and a traditional everyday casserole. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we're looking for a heartier way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
After the break, Angie Edge from Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin joins us with a cheesy recipe you'll just fall in love with. Welcome back. Angie Edge from Dairy Farmers of Wisconsin is back with us today, and you're helping us fall in love even more with cheese.
I love it. I love it. So fall is in the air,
yes,
right?
Yes, it is,
and
finally.
When you think of fall, you think of fall flavors like pumpkins and cranberries and all those comfort foods that we love to eat. So we have a delicious homemade recipe today. It's a cranberry chipotle pumpkin risotto. So delicious, and so I'm excited for you to try it. I'm going to start on this side just showcasing some of the ingredients, and then you can try the cheese at the end.
All right.
So first we're going to start in a Dutch oven. I prepared this before we came, but we're going to melt 3 tablespoons of real Wisconsin butter. I'm using the butter from Landmark Creamery in Peoli.
Nice.
Then you're going to add in some fresh sage, some garlic, and also some chipotle peppers. So the kitchen's going to smell really good. And then you're going to add in 1 cup of Italian-style rice, which is like a risotto type of rice. Also 1 cup of dried cranberries, 1 cup of pureed pumpkin, along with some vegetable broth and white wine. So you just keep simmering that on the stove type until it gets to a nice smooth, creamy consistency. And then you add in the star ingredient, which is 5 ounces of our chipotle cheddar cheese made by Car Valley. So if you can see the label here, you can see that it's very special because a Car Valley original, this white cheddar is blended with cranberries and chipotle peppers for a distinctive sweet and smoky heat.
Oh my gosh,
and you'll notice that it's made by a Wisconsin master cheesemaker. It's also won a lot of awards, and it has that Proudly
Wisconsin cheese. Yeah.
So Car Valley is a local favorite. They have 2 Wisconsin master cheesemakers. Also, this time of year, it's so fun to go for a little drive. They have 7 retail locations that you can drive to around Laval, Mauston, Sauk City area. So maybe you need to go on a little cheese run.
Why not?
They have over 100 100 varieties and 50 originals. Sid likes to try different flavors and varieties and always coming up with new flavors of cheese. So you'll taste the sweetness of the cranberries, a little heat of the chipotle.
That's perfect. And it's very fall.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. That
so
whole
you can
recipe.
Taste that in the recipe. There's, you know, the sweetness of the cranberries and the pumpkin. It really makes for a great fall meal.
I'm happy. I'm in love.
Yeah.
Angie,
Fall
thank
in
you so
love with
much.
cheese.
I'm so deeply in love with cheese already. Let's send it
you.
to Jacob now for a final check of your forecast.
Thanks, Josh. Fall-like conditions are going to continue for the next couple of days. Highs in the 60s, some overnight lows in the 30s. Then we'll see highs in the 70s for the weekend, with overnight lows in the 40s and 50s. We are going to see the rain chances increase for next week as well.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Thanks for watching News 3 Now at noon. Coming up next is The Bold and the Beautiful. Our next newscast is live at 4. And a reminder, you can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+.